When I decided to run for office, I knew that I had this big section of of my district that was completely poor. I always tell people that the area code or the zip code 27260 is the poorest zip code in all the top 10 cities. And I would love to have that story that I grew up poor and I grew up in the hood and things like that, but I don't have that story. So I really figured that if I was going to represent them, that I would actually have to go and figure out what is actually the problem, what's really going on over here. So we actually moved our house into the neighborhood. Well, what happened was is that when I knocked on doors and I would talk to parents, and parents would tell me that I asked them what is their big problem, and the number one problem that I heard over and over and over and over again, no matter what door I went to, was the fact that they were not happy with their school, and they were not happy with the fact that their school was a failing school for so many years and nobody was doing anything about it. And I was already having a conversation about individualized education and didn't really realize how much it tied into choice, but I really wanted us to focus on the individual child. And when I was talking with these parents, it was very clear to me that they had no option. No one ever really thinks of it that deeply, but the mere fact that you live in that neighborhood is the fact that you have to go to that school. And so that to me, it struck to me as a constitutional issue. Number one is about like how as I am a representative, going to force somebody to go to a school, even though the parent who knows better than anyone wants a different choice. But let's just put it in the terms of numbers. Every year I have 400 kids in my district that does not graduate. And if you times that by 10, after 10 years, that number goes up to 4,000. But if you look at it in terms of how long we've really been waiting, 40 years, you have 16,000 people that does not have a high school diploma. And that's where you see what I saw, where whole entire communities are decimated. And it's a cancer and people are literally dying because of it. And so I tell people, I'm not going to wait another 40. I'm not going to wait another 10. I don't have another year. For every child that I look at, and I know that 50 to 60% of those kids are not going to make it in my community, there's no possible way that I can wait. Waiting is not something that I'm willing to do because I don't have that time. Every time I look at a kid that comes off the school bus, and I know that over half of them are not going to make it, then that's not something I'm willing to do. We need something for those kids right now. Those kids deserve just as much as a chance as anybody else's kids do. And so anybody that asks me to wait, I don't really understand how they could do that. We wonder what Martin Luther King would say if he said, oh, let's just wait for justice, just 10 more years. It's not an acceptable question, and it's certainly not something I'm willing to consider. I am Representative Marcus Brandon, and I am from Guilford County, and this is why I support Opportunity Scholarships.